Human nature has been the same for 5,000 years. It's always the same. Centralized power in the hands of a few people corrupts. Always.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to White Mirror, episode 11. Legs 11.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I went for something to eat in a pub the other night and I ended up in the middle of a bingo night. It was really weird. I didn't play.
Bingo, bitches! Bingo.
Because I'm not into that. But when I noticed when 88 came up, they weren't allowed to say two fat ladies anymore.
Yeah. We're not allowed to have fun anymore, Dave. You know that.
It was two fat people. I couldn't believe
Oh,
it.
really?
Two fat persons or people or something. And there was more. But anyway, that's enough about bingo. So we're part two, from corruption to collapse. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed learning all about the Sumerians and the parallels between their empire and ours. Can you call ours an empire, or is it just a load of corruption, isn't it?
Our globalist empire. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
End of empires. And this is the second episode. Basically, the last one, we talked about the Sumerians and a number of different civilizations. We're going to do the same in this one. I'm just basically trying to put some ideas across in this series.
Okay.
How human nature has been the same for 5,000 years. It's always the same. Centralized power in the hands of a few people corrupts. Always. It's always the same. And that's basically what I'm sort of demonstrating in this series.
Okay, brilliant. Just before we get going, Si, I'm looking forward to it. Please like and subscribe. That would help us enormously. We're a very young channel, and what we're trying to do is build a network so that we can put together and help people get into decentralization, because despite what's going on in the news at the moment and the governments and everybody saying that they're going to use the blockchain for this, that, and the other, it's a load of nonsense, right?
Yeah, it's our blockchain. It's the people's blockchain. And that's what this series is about. It's all about decentralization.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Si, looking forward to it. Off you go.
Yeah, so we'll do a quick recap, Dave, because if you remember,
Yeah.
in the last episode when we started, right here in 2025, and we went back, and I took you all the way back to 5,000 years ago, just a few short years before you bought your MacBook, mate, I think.
It was the bubble Mac, the first one with the blue back.
Yeah. And we covered the Sumerians, right? From 3,100 BC.
Good one. Yes. Yeah, it was incredible. Incredible.
So basically that civilization, that empire collapsed due to excessive taxes and debt on the farmers. And I guess farmers of today will completely sympathize, in the UK, Europe, US, it's all the same. And also how the scribes became the elites of that time, like the bureaucrats of today in a way. But in this episode, let's discuss Babylon and how, again, the elites were very, very similar to the elites of today.
Oh, right.
We're going to cover that. We'll also cover the Roman Empire and how they destroyed their economy in the same way that our central banks are doing, and how their civilization... Sorry, mate.
Like centuries of corruption and debasement. The kind of thing, it's sort of like we're speed running it at the moment.
Yeah. How their civilization collapsed due to currency debasement. And we'll have a look at that, because it's a totally frightening parallel to what we're seeing today.
Yeah.
And we'll also look at medieval Europe, and again, corruption, but this time from the church. And I guess this time they had the excuse that God said it was okay, but we'll have a look at it in a bit more detail.
Okay, brilliant.
Next episode, we're not doing it in this one, but next episode we'll cover colonial empires.
Okay.
Safe to say it got a bit messy then too. and 20th century superpowers. Our kind of shit show of a globalist empire. We'll also leave that till next episode.
Perfect,
Right?
mate. Yes, let's go.
So also, we don't need to forget that the reason we're here is because we're discussing the world that we're about to enter, the world that we're starting to create together, without any rulers, without censorship, and totally orchestrated by the blockchain. So let's draw some parallels as we go through.
Okay, perfect.
So, to start afresh, rotten things, they need to collapse, and that's exactly what they did. So we looked at the Sumerians. The elites there extracted far too much, like I said, from the farmers and from the everyday people. But what we're going to do, Dave, I think, is we're going to fill in this little table here as we go through and find out exactly what was happening. What's the main root cause of each one of them?
Yeah,
So
okay.
what else is in our table? We have got the Babylon Empire, and that's what we're going to look at now. And we'll have a look what exactly went wrong there. Okay, so Babylon, 1800 BC. This is our kind of second block, really, in our blockchain of time. And the Babylonians, they came up with something called the Code of Hammurabi around 1750 BC or so. And this was one of the first written legal systems. But interestingly, the punishments literally depended on social class. So there's kind of plenty of examples of two-tier justice, Dave. Where have we heard this recently?
Where are we seeing it every day?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know about two-tier Kia. And this is starting everywhere now. It's in Europe. It's all over Britain. Britain is massively falling to this two-tier justice system, really.
Yeah,
What a
sure.
parallel that is.
Right. So, as an example, in Babylon, if you were a commoner and you poked out the eye of a nobleman, you lost your own eye, right? And
Was this
I'm
a
not sure.
thing? Was this a
I
thing in
think it's funny
Babylonia?
this. When I was looking through all this, I'm thinking, they talk a lot about poking each other's eyes out, not something that we do quite so much these days. But
Maybe
apparently,
there's some sort of martial art they had, and it was like, oh,
the phrase "an eye for an eye" that actually
yeah.
came from the Babylonian time. That's where it comes from, an eye for an eye.
That phrase has existed all that time and come through generation to generation, eye for an eye.
You're right.
Amazing.
But interestingly, if a nobleman poked out the eye of a commoner, he just paid a fine. And if he poked out the eye of a slave, he just had to cover the repair costs, whatever they might be.
It's
Replacement of the
ridiculous.
Right,
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
two-tier justice.
Okay.
It was kind of like tiered, like a menu, and there was kind of like, if you do this, then you pay that. But if you're a nobleman, you do this, or you very, very strange. Of course, in our
Very.
in our decentralized future, Dave, that we're looking forward to, blockchain totally flips all this around. Same rules, same execution, whoever you are. It doesn't matter if you're a nobleman or a farmer. No individual can control it centrally or twist it to their favor. So this is the transparency of the blockchain. Of course, back then in Babylon, they had no such technology. And central powers, they're always corrupt, they always coalesce, and they always get corrupted. We'll see that
Yeah.
as we
Yeah.
keep going through. So by 1539, corruption was sort of starting to hollow out the entire empire. Nebuchadnezzar II, he supposedly built the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. I'm sure you've heard of that one.
On his own? He did it all on his own?
For his wife, the Queen. Massive vanity
Wow. He
project.
must have serious green fingers, that fella.
Whilst the commoners, whilst the poor people were struggling, they were building lavish gardens.
Yeah, another parallel. There you go.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So when Persia came along, Babylon didn't put up any fight whatsoever. The Persians just took over. And it was kind of like the people had said, new management, absolutely anything's better than this current corrupt lot of rulers. So they didn't put up any fight. Happy for the next.
Yeah, that's also very interesting when we look at left and right, isn't it? When we think in those terms, left and right, which is a mistake, but it's exactly the same thing. It's just a change of staff.
Right. So that's Babylon. We looked at the Sumerians, where the elites extracted too much. We looked at now at Babylon. We could put two-tier justice there, I think, Dave, as one of the major things that got people infuriated, and people really saw the corruption.
But always pushing too far, always pushing too much.
Right. Control, right?
Yeah.
So where to next? I'm going to look at the Roman Empire. How about that?
Yeah, brilliant. Love the Roman Empire. Well, you know.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, because it's one of the largest empires, really, Dave. And they didn't just conquer with armies. You know, they really built a lot of infrastructure. They built roads, aqueducts, they put laws in, huge amounts of trade. As a centralized system, it was very effective, and it helped.
Well, it's like that scene, isn't it? Sorry, it's like that scene. What have the Romans ever done for us?
Well, apart from the sanitation, the aqueduct, and the road, irrigation, medicine,
sanitation.
Right. Yeah, but it's this centralization that always begins to break. And by the 3rd century, they'd really overstretched. They'd grown too large. Their costs massively outpaced revenues, especially from the extremities of the empire as it was growing. And
I noticed they stopped at Scotland. They didn't bother with Scotland.
They found that
a bit
difficult,
rough.
didn't they? Right. Good on them. Good on them. The silver denarius, that was Rome's coin for centuries. But just starting from around 64 AD under Emperor Nero, the silver purity in these coins dropped, right, from about 100% down to 90. This was the beginning of the end. Because, for example, I guess talking about currency debasement here, people might not know exactly how this started off. For example, right, they might take 100 silver coins, melt all that silver down, put in a load of cheap metals, and remint 110 new coins with the same amount of silver, right? This is classic currency debasement. And all the time they're sort of trying to keep the illusion with the people that the coins are still worth the same, right? Despite them having less silver in. So it's kind of like your equivalent of
inflation.
You know, well, absolutely. That's where inflation comes from. But imagine getting your pound coin every time every couple of years you get it, and eventually they keep reminting it until it is kind of like this piece of tinfoil. You're like, what the hell is that? What is that?
That's happened already. I mean, you know, when we had £5 notes when we were kids, that was something, and it had a little silver strip in it. I don't know if you remember that. Are you old enough for that, Simon? I definitely am. And now it's like a piece of thing. You can get it wet, and you can't get rid of it. And they're tiny and useless.
I think if people carried on seeing coins like this and debasement happened in the same way, they would have seen in our current empire the debasement that's been going on. And as you said in a prior episode, we call it quantitative easing these days.
Yes. Yes, that's right. It's a very nice word for it, isn't it?
Right.
Quantitative easing.
Yeah. So indeed, the same thing's happening these days. But silver content just kept dropping and dropping. And, you know, the soldiers and the citizens, they started to notice, though, that the money quality had gone down, and they stopped trusting those coins. And instead, they were demanding payment in actual goods like grain or gold.
Right.
Now,
okay.
Yeah, this is really interesting. They really noticed at the end that the coins weren't worth what they said they were. And of course, in Bitcoin, it's a good parallel because this can't happen in Bitcoin. There is a fixed total supply of 21 million Bitcoin. They can't be watered down. The rules can't be changed, totally decentralized. No individual could do that these days with Bitcoin all over the
Right.
world. But
Okay.
Rome's fall wasn't, just about barbarians, as you mentioned in Scotland or anything like that. Barbarians as the gate at the gates, they said it. It wasn't like that. It was more really about the emperors debasing their own money and
Yeah.
eroding trust, right, from within.
Yeah, the story is the barbarians at the gates once they got inside the gates, which is another interesting parallel because we've got them in Parliament now.
Yeah, opposite way around.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, right.
Right.
Cool.
So we've now got our Roman Empire on the little table there,
Yeah.
and we're going to put in currency debasement. Sumerians, the elites extracted too much. Babylon, the two-tier justice. Roman Empire with its currency debasement.
So far we've got all of those going on at the minute. All right. Yep.
What's next?
Yeah.
Medieval Europe. Okay. So after Rome's collapse, the church gradually became the most powerful centralized institution across Europe. And it controlled huge amounts of land, wealth, and actually they totally controlled all of literacy and knowledge. And I guess you could say that the monks of that day were the modern day data center of their day. They maintained and controlled a monopoly of knowledge. And again, it's kind of like an interesting parallel, again, with sort of like where we are today with open source software and the transparency of the blockchain. Again, it's all the opposite state within the blockchain. Transparency, records that anyone can verify, a technology that they just didn't have any idea of course, back then. But we have this now, and this is what all the way through this series I'm trying to say. We've now got a technology that allows us humans to self-organize without those centralized power-grabbing structures or people from
Okay.
times gone by.
I've got a little question on that. Also, the technology can be used against us because the technology now exists, right? And of course, the big push from the autocracy at the moment is a technological one. It's like to control us with technology. So I guess there's two sides to that, right?
Well, this is where the decentralization, I think you might be talking about things like potential digital IDs and
Yeah,
all of that sort of thing,
yeah.
right? Right. Well, I think people can see through a lot of this already and where this is going. Of course, centralized institutions are not capable of being responsible with technology
Right.
centralized. When we
Yeah,
have technology in the hands of the many in decentralized, and people really do need to understand the difference. And this is what I
yeah.
keep kind of, really iterate over a lot, the fact that decentralization is different. The blockchain is not centrally controlled. We all
Hmm.
control it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, thanks, Si. Yeah, no, I just wanted to throw that in there because
Yeah,
I think a lot of people be thinking the same thing, you know?
it's worth reiterating again and again, Dave. It
Yeah,
really is because it's
yeah.
difficult. I get it. It's really, really difficult to understand exactly why because we've been so used to centralized authorities. So we're coming to the end of the medieval European period. And as usual, corruption had crept in. This is really interesting. Um, so the corruption, the way it came in the church, was that you could see it from the bookkeeping. They literally listed prices next to crimes. So if you paid a cash fine, you could get away with doing X, Y, and Z. So, for example, there were actual kind of like tables: murder a layman, you got 7 years penance, or a cash fine of whatever; adultery, 2 years penance, or a cash fine of right.
So if
Steal a
you got money,
cow.
you're okay. You got
That
money.
right.
If you got money, you buy your way out.
But these things, they got worse and worse. And then eventually
Yeah.
you could have pay ahead sin licenses. Really, this is true. So basically, you got like wealthy patrons who could buy in an indulgence from the church before they actually went and committed their sin that they'd been planning.
Right. That's carbon credits. That's carbon credits.
Yeah.
That really is. My
Medieval
God.
medieval Europe, the church, they monetized guilt. If you had
Yeah.
coin, you could pre-purchase a sin, commit it at leisure, and skip purgatory.
That's
So
amazing. That is brilliant.
blatant
I'm
corruption.
going to go and rob the local bank establishment. How much would that be?
Cut the church in and you're fine.
Stealing is just something you don't do.
Right, except you.
So eventually, the church's empire of faith, wealth, power buckled under its own ridiculous corruption. People turned to a more, interestingly, decentralized kind of faith, which at that time was called the Protestant Reformation. Medieval Europe, they show us that empire showed us what happens when one institution controls like all of the truth and all of the wealth. And again, you can draw the crypto decentralization parallels. It isn't just about money. It's about building systems where no single entity can ever sell salvation or silence dissent. So let's see what we have now on our table: the medieval empire, and we're going to put in a corrupt church. I guess you've seen where I'm going with this, really, Dave.
Yeah, yeah. You forgot to mention that everybody in the medieval times stank as well. They were very smelly. I don't want you to forget that.
Right. Centralization doesn't help
yeah.
with that one.
You stink.
No, it doesn't really help, but there are parallels.
So I've covered those three in this episode, and the Sumerians was from the last one.
Yeah.
In the next one, we're going to talk about the collapse of colonial empires, and also we'll delve into exactly why our current globalist empire is collapsing under our feet right now.
Okay.
And,
love it.
I think given the context and all the stories of these prior empires, I think it's going to be pretty easy to see the parallels and where we are now, because we literally check every single one of the boxes, mate.
There's absolutely nothing left out at all. This is all happening. The only difference is we're finding out about it through technology. So we're learning about it as it happens. Literally as it happens, we're starting to find out, oh, he's done that, they're doing that. And it's just every single one of those things is happening right now. So what's the result going to be? Well, you can only use your logic. We're human, we're still human. The result is
the gradual rise of decentralization taking its inevitable place.
Which is a form of rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant, Si. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm stunned. I just can't get over the parallels. It's ridiculous, in these episodes. But I'm stunned by it. And I had no idea. I didn't listen at history. I just stared out the window. I found school a little bit. It was a little bit indoctrinating. But so it's really eye-opening for me. Obviously, I don't want that sort of eye-opening that they did in Babylon. With the, but anyway, thanks, Si. As ever, please, if you could like, subscribe, and share our content, that will help us enormously. It's huge for us, and it's huge for you, because we want to bring everybody together, get everybody understanding decentralization. We don't want to leave anyone behind. So, please join us. and we'll catch up with you next time. Thank you very, very much, Si.
Cheers, Dave.
Okay, mate.